Good evening. On behalf of the governing body of the City of Passaic, we welcome you to the July 16th, 2024 City Council meeting. In accordance with Chapter 231 Public Laws of 1975, adequate notice of this meeting was provided by resolution of the Municipal Council adopted on June 18th, 2024, setting forth the schedule of meetings for the year 2024-2025. Said notice was published and posted on the City Hall Bulletin Board by the Office of the City Clerk. Please be further advised, this meeting will be conducted in person. The Zoom stream provided is for viewing only and is offered to the public as a convenience. On July 5th, 2024, public notice and Zoom instructions for this meeting were published in the Herald News and posted on the City of Passaic website at www.cityofpassaic.com, Council Agenda. Instructions are also available on the last page of this agenda. Please be guided accordingly. Councilman Love,
Present.
Councilwoman Mello,
Present.
Councilman Garcia,
Present.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Present.
and Council President Scheer.
President Sherrill, please rise.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to meet this evening. Lord, we ask you to please guide us in the decisions that will take place this evening. In your beloved name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're possibly going to be doing a little bit of jumping tonight in terms of order of things. So why don't we start with Roman numeral 5, minutes March 5, 2024 council meeting. Are there any changes or additions which need to be enacted for the minutes to be correct? Seeing no lights, is there a motion please to accept the minutes of March?
Second.
Next second, roll call please.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. The minutes are approved. We're up to Roman numeral 6 on our agenda, hearing of citizens. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-1 et sec, the council opens every public meeting for comments of the public. However, in accordance with NJSA 10:4-12, nothing in this act shall be construed to limit the discretion of a public body to permit, prohibit, or regulate the active participation at any meeting. Therefore, please be advised that the council will not entertain any comments from persons who communicate obscene material, make statements which are considered bias, intimidation, in which a person intends to intimidate any individual or group because of race, color, religion, gender, handicap, sexual orientation, or ethnicity, or makes comments intending to harass or speak any offensive language. The person who makes these statements will relinquish their allotted 5 minutes for public discussion. Madam Clerk, did we receive any communication of people who would like to address the council not in chambers?
No, sir.
Very good. Is there anyone who would like to address the council who is in chambers? Welcome, Mr. Conasante.
Yes, good evening. Joe Conascenti, 170 Broadway. Council President, my first question I have here is, we have a lot of restaurants in City of Passaic. And my question is, I know there used to be a ordinance, I don't know if they still have it, where for eating inside, you're supposed to have, there's so many seatings for parking spaces. I don't know if that was taken out. My first question. My next question that I have, that cannabis, as known as marijuana, I'd like to know how many warehouses do we have where they're growing it? I guess they would have greenhouses. I would like to know if we have any. My next question is, by the meth clinic on Howe Avenue, on the opposite side of it, there's a parking lot. You have Gregory Avenue and you got Myrtle Avenue. It comes up to a V, it's like an island. Well, The reason I'm bringing this up, because there's cars parked there. There used to be grass growing on each side. There's a walkway, a sidewalk on both sides there, and you got all these cars just parking there.
I'm sorry, Mr. Conasente, what is that intersection again?
That's Gregory Avenue and Myrtle.
Good, thank you, sir.
Gregory.
Yeah, right there. Is it me?
You're holding time.
No, you got Howe Avenue on the other, on the back end, and on the other side is like an island, small island.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, my next one is Irving Place off of Broadway. There is a lot of illegal cars parked, and I don't see much being done with it. Sometimes you got 10 cars, sometimes you got 5 cars, sometimes you have 15. Now you have the homeowners parking where they're not supposed to on the block. I'm just wondering if there could be any towing, which that might help the issue. My last question that I have, rent control. There's a big problem going on in Passaic as of right now. The problem there is, I brought it up the last time, the landlord is telling people your leases are expired. Your next lease for the next month would be like $400 more for rent, and some of them are $500, some of them are $1,000. Now, just this past July 1st, he's offering people like $8,000 to move out. And I looked at a friend of mine's lease. Like the mayor stated at the last meeting that if it's not on there, then it's illegal. So it wasn't on there, the new fee that they want to charge. So now only out of the whole building, one tenant is taking them to court. But that's the problem we have too. The tenants don't know what to do. They don't know who to talk to, where to go. And it's becoming a big problem here. It's out of control. So these are my questions tonight.
Thank you, sir. So let's try to address with some assistance and good help their questions, if you will. Number one, you asked about is there an ordinance which governs how many tables and chairs can be in an establishment that serves food? The answer is, at the suggestion of the mayor at the time and the city council, such an ordinance was passed. To the best of my knowledge, I'm not familiar with the ordinance having been revoked. That being the case, the ordinance would still be in effect, certainly. You had spoken about Gregory and Myrtle. Mr. Conasente, help me what your concern, your complaint is in terms of parking.
It's illegal parking because that's a sidewalk. That's a city piece of property.
Yeah. Mr. Fernandez, would you know offhand how many parking spaces have been created by Mayor Laura since he came into office?
Thousands.
It's nothing to do with it.
And how many will be created additionally as a result of the parking garage?
310
So it's 1,300.
at least.
Okay. So, Mr. Conasente, I will tell you
That's
that
not
we
the
are.
issue.
Sorry?
That's not the issue. The issue, this is a illegal parking area that they're using.
And I would hope that when you see such illegal things going on, you would do what every good citizen is obliged to do, and that is to call the police. Your last question was in terms of rent control. Mr. Lurch, could you help us with Passaic and rent control? Do we have rent control in Passaic to the best of your knowledge? Or am I hitting you from left field?
I can answer that question.
Very good, please.
So we do have a rent control ordinance in the city of Passaic. A lot of the issues that Mr. Condescendi was discussing would happen whether you had rent control or not. Those are things that have been historically happening, and some of the things he said aren't exactly accurate, right? So we do have a rent control attorney. We
I got the
field
proof.
calls. The Human Resources Department is now out of the mayor's office, and we're constantly answering those questions that people have. And there's a rent leveling board. There's also
Right.
assistance with a defense counsel, legal aid. We're constantly referring people to legal aid, and relocation is out of the mayor's office. So literally as late as this morning, I was talking to a family about how they can go about rectifying any of those issues between them. And Mr. Condescendi also stated only one of the tenants decided to take him to court. Well, that's the prerogative of the tenant after they hear all of the information that
They
we
don't know
give
what to
them.
do, that's why.
And I'd like to add that, through the mayor's direction and approval from the council, we have been making headway with affordable housing within the municipality, as well as we're one of the very few municipalities that gives funding for the renovation of these units to become affordable. And those are regulated by the federal government, and there's a maximum rental increase if these landlords accept that money. And even when they accept the money, they still go over the number, and we still have to go after them. So there is rent control. We are doing our duties, and we're happy to speak to any resident. The mayor has made it clear that our offices are an open door for any of our residents, and that's what we continue to do. And we do it every single day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I
Thank
got
you,
one
Mr.
question.
Constant.
Can I
No,
ask?
sir, your time is up. I'm sorry. Anyone else like to address the council? I'm sorry, Councilman Love.
Yeah, just a question to administration. You mentioned rent subsidy, HUD. So there's two other layers when it comes to rent and renters' rights, right? County and state. Also, they can reach out for assistance in addition to the city.
For rental assistance, yes, when it's funded and there's availability, we use those resources as well.
I'm referring to if they have questions, if they feel they're being mistreated.
Oh,
by
absolutely.
landlord. Okay.
Yeah,
Lieutenant,
absolutely.
Lieutenant.
Yeah, we give them the hotline as well. For
Okay.
like the HUD and the way that they can request information or file a complaint against a specific landlord. So there's a specific hotline that you can either email or call if you feel that you were discriminated and your rent was increased for whatever reasons.
Is that posted anywhere? Do we have that anywhere on our website?
So it's in our community development. It's in our community development office and the community development website.
Also, through our Assemblyman's office, we've had a few workshops in community fairs here in the city. We had one actually across the street from City Hall where we brought resources from the state through the Assemblyman's office present to help people connect with certain resources available, not just for rental assistance, but utility assistance. As you stated, and you're correct, there are resources that have been presented through the county. In fact, one of the recent fairs that Assemblyman Scher had brought the county here with his assembly office to share those resources with the people. But I do think that it's important perhaps to give a little perspective. When obviously any tenant has an issue of injustice or something that may go against the law, there are resources. We have attorneys, the court deals with it, tenant landlord courts. However, there have been a number of cases where during the pandemic, individuals did not pay rent for over a year or two. When the pandemic ended and our offices, state offices, county offices told everyone, in 6 months, this is going to end, in 4 months, we count down. When it ended, many of the property owners, landlords, who had been restricted from evicting anyone who didn't pay rent over the 2 years, even if they had to make repairs, some chose to offer tenants money to move out, and that's the tenant's right to take it or not, to reject it or not. If they say yes, they have every right to move on. God bless them. If they take the money and find somewhere else. And others, if it was within the lease and they signed the lease, it became very difficult for us as administration to say, you signed the lease. So every case is different. That's why it's important when we refer people to the different layers of government that we're pragmatic in what we tell individuals, because a broad approach, taking a brush and just painting across the board and saying, if we just had this policy for the entire city, it would resolve every issue. Every issue is not the same. Some individuals, unfortunately, were derelict in their responsibilities. They received funding throughout the 2 years and did not use the money to pay rent. And then at the end of the 2 years, the grace period, and lack of a better description, ended. But again, through the Assemblyman's office, through our office, through human services, through the county, even some federal programs, we've offered many programs, and many have utilized the temporary rental assistance. We've even reached out through the Board of Social Services, through our Councilwoman Tanya Mello, to help individuals who found themselves on the verge of being evicted and were able to receive assistance. So there are resources, but you have to come and receive the help. And it's very difficult if you come after a year or two of not paying rent and then seeing the rent's being
Just trying to
raised.
stop the train at that point. So,
That's the best way to put it. Yeah, it's like trying to stop the train when it's already gone.
and I'll tell you, something must be going on the other side positively, because people are complaining they just can't find apartments in Passaic. They're filling up as soon as they put them up. So, I mean, so kudos to those landlords and those tenants who are having success. So, all right, I'm glad we were able to point out for Mr. Condescenti also to direct people to those resources as well. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Councilman. Mayor, would you happen to know from conversations you've had with mayoral colleagues of yours, are they facing the same difficulties we are?
Yes, other municipalities have the same challenges with tenants and with some landlords obviously having to raise rents, because even though the tenants did not have to pay the rents, landlords still had to pay, or property owners had to pay their taxes, they had to pay the mortgages, and they were obligated to make the repairs. So, some of them had the funding, others had to pull resources out, and they looked to recover. Oftentimes, and we always tell everyone, read your lease. Read your lease. And we receive individuals who come and say, my rent was raised 150 last year, 150 this year. And for 2 years it wasn't raised, and then 300 it was raised. If you read the lease, they can raise up to $300 in 2 years. If you sign that lease, it is a binding contract. But we are not attorneys. We always refer to our attorneys. We direct individuals and try to help them. But yes, speaking to other mayors around the state, they are facing similar issues. That's why the federal government provided so much assistance through community development, block grants, through our community development departments, and gave additional funding for affordable housing. And I have to share that this council passed a historic affordable housing initiative that went far beyond what some other municipalities were even speaking about. And unfortunately, there is no panacea approach, as you know, Council President, to this issue.
I'm looking for one, Mayor.
I know.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council at this time?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. If we can skip back, Mayor, we took things a little bit out of order. Can we ask for your update now, or would you prefer?
Share. First, I want to begin with congratulating Deputy Mayor Minnie Heather Cousins on her wedding today at Mount Pilgrim Missionary Baptist Church. She was married, so congratulations to her and Brother Larry. We wish them the very best. July 3rd through July 7th, we had our annual family festival and fireworks, the 4th of July. I think we had a bigger crowd this year than previous years. I know that all of the council members came by, and I think they can all attest to this. It was such a diverse crowd. We had so many families from every ward, and every year it gets bigger and bigger. But not only that, we had individuals come from around the state. We had people come from other counties. A few families that were visiting from, we had one family from Spain that came with Officer Castrillian. We had some families that just came to visit their family members from Mexico, from South America, from all over, from Europe, and they came to our fireworks. So they had a great time. The festival was wonderful. The weather held up. We were a little concerned early, but that went really great. We have already started our movies in the park on Tuesdays. Right now, there's a movie in the park. So we had a drive-in movie last Tuesday. Families enjoyed it. That has continued to be one of the more positive initiatives. Our concerts in the park, the next one is this Thursday with Grupo. Well, we had Grupo Macao last Thursday, and then we're going to have Javi Swing the Guile. this Thursday, so we're very excited for that. On July 12th, and we have Deputy Chief of the Fire Department, Deputy Chief Munier, who's here. We have promotions, and additions and swearing in of new firefighters, an additional two new chaplains. We want to thank Father Javier and Father Jose Zuniga from St. Anthony's of Padua, who will join our chaplains for our emergency responders, our firefighters, and our police. And Council President, members of the City Council, on July 13th and 14th, we had a busy weekend. We had two flag raisings, Colombian and Peruvian, and two festivals, Colombian and Peruvian. Council President, you'll be proud of us. We met our obligations and tasted every single food booth, so we could give you an accurate and detailed report later on. We'll tell you the lamb was great, but no, in all seriousness, we want to commend these organizations, because obviously, when it comes to municipalities, festivals, big events, and activities, there's always a concern of the aftermath. What will the parks look like? What will the areas look like? And they left everything clean. And we want to thank our DPW, our recreation staff. But the very next days, the parks were ready to be used. So we continue to have amazing support and a wonderful cooperation from these organizations. Every year, we vet these organizations. Obviously, we want to thank our city clerk, Weatherly Frias, who constantly reminds people months in advance, and then they come 1 week before the event and say, we want to offer food, and the 300 people we expected is now 10,000. So she very pragmatically and wisely says, great. And the additional fee, the estimate now goes from 10,000 to 80,000, and then they come back down. And somehow she works it out. She's extremely wise and proficient at this. The events will continue throughout the summer. We're very excited. Our next big event will be our summer camp out. I see we have Batner here from Recreation. This year, again, our kids will be able to go to the park, set up tents with their families. Afterwards, we'll do fishing in Hughes Lake. We're going to have s'mores, campfires, movies, and all of the fun activities that we did last year, and some additional surprises. On Friday, August 9th, we're going to have the New Jersey Motor Vehicles Office brought to us by Assemblyman Shayer's office. Once again, individuals will be able to come and get real ID duplicates, replacement titles, non-driver ID, and registration renewal. And this is very exciting news. We were recently awarded a Safe Routes to School SRTS infrastructure grant for 2024, continuing with our record grant awards this year. Please hold on to your seats. $1.89 million given to the city of Passaic for the areas of Parker Avenue and Dayton around our Dayton Avenue complex to enhance pedestrian safety, which goes a long way. Many have heard the concerns of residents, of families dropping off their kids. Obviously, when you consider the exit and entrance to Route 21, the distribution centers in the area, the many schools in proximity to our Dayton Avenue complex, it becomes a concern for crosswalks, for pedestrian safety. But you have seen it around the city, most recently by our school number 11, right by Monroe, Montgomery. You'll see it right on the corner by the baseball field, where we milled and paved and put all of the new solar panel lights and all of the pedestrian safety additions. And we continue this throughout the city in 3rd Ward, 2nd Ward, 1st Ward, and 4th Ward. So I'm very excited about that. Our Connie Bragg Cafe is moving along, and we're almost ready to break ground on that, as well as our parking deck, which Council President had shared. Our UEZ Riverwalk project, we will be awarding the contract for our brand new Riverwalk project funded by both UEZ and Capital Parks budget. We are creating a Riverwalk on the corner of Market and South, and it will beautify the area and provide residents with additional green space for leisure and exercise along the river. Our UEZ Business Transportation Project. At last week's State UEZ Board meeting as of July 10th, we have a $530,000 project which was approved to fund our transportation initiative for a free shuttle bus. Now, this shuttle bus will go through our commercial districts. It will go through Main Avenue, go down to Market Street, come back up, and it's going to circle around our business district around the city from Main Ave and Third Ward all the way down here to the east side, to Market Street, down Passaic Street for free. So kids, seniors, those who visit, someone getting off the train and says, I want to go eat on Market Street, maybe go shop on Main Ave and then jump on the free shuttle. It will remain within the city, but we are exploring possibilities to partner up with other municipalities and maybe have them connect to other transportation. But we're very excited about that. Our citywide pothole repair continues. I'll just name a few streets: Elmwood Ave, Broadway intersection, Passaic Ave, Central Ave, Broadway, Washington, Albion Broadway, Liberty Street, Breland and Monroe, Hope and Madison. I want to share we recently paved 3rd Street and Pine Street. They both look brand new and beautiful, so we're extremely excited about that. And then I just want to share that our River and Paulison parking lot has been completed. We're very excited about it. Now we're just going to do the installation of some lighting as well as stripe and put some of the parking. I would like to announce to some of the residents that have been asking, Council President, members of the City Council, we've been painting the lines for parking around the city. We've been identifying streets that are conducive for painted parking. Now, we do not make these decisions in a silo. We go through our engineers. They assess the streets and tell us which streets are, again, I'll reiterate, conducive for this initiative. And the latest one we're going to do is Hudson Street. Hudson Street, we're going to paint so we can designate parking. We have seen this work through the initiative that we've done collectively together. We've been able to create angled parking, and then do some striping and some painting of parking, as well as add parking lots, push forward initiatives that provide parking for residents in front of their driveways. And with the record funding that we're receiving, we're extremely excited that we have not completely resolved the issue. We have gone a long way to address some of the unique concerns that we face in urban communities, especially with the increase of vehicle ownerships and around our municipalities. That is the extent of my report, Council President and members of the City Council, as well as those who are in attendance and those who are watching online.
I assume, Mayor, that the routes for those buses, which is wonderful news, they how can I phrase it, bring attention to the restaurants and other items of interest in the city?
As well as it announces some of our newest amenities. Our rooftop dining has already begun on Main Ave. We have rooftop dining at 834 Main Ave, and it's become an extremely popular location. You've seen it on social media. Some people are talking about it. They go there, they eat on the roof, they see the New York skyline. That is one of, I believe, 2 right now that are in the works, but we're very excited about it.
Excellent. Members of the council, questions? Very good, sir. Thank you, Mayor. With the council's permission, we're up to Roman numeral 7, ordinances for second and final reading. Hearing is required. Number 1, proposed ordinance 2452-24, an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a capped bank, NJSA 40A-4-45.14. Is there a motion, please, to open public hearing?
Move.
Second.
Motion and second. Thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. We open public hearing, correct? At this time, ladies and gentlemen, if there's anyone who would like to address the council on this proposed ordinance 2452 only.
Seeing no hands, move to close the public portion.
Move.
There is a motion, there is a second. Roll call, please, to close public hearing.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. Is there a motion to accept the ordinance, please?
So move.
Motion
Second.
and second. Thank you. Roll call on 2453.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Shear.
Yes, the motion carries. We're up to our third item, Proposed ordinance 2454-24, an ordinance amending Chapter 149, Article 3 of the Code of the City of Passaic entitled Mobile Food Establishments to provide for the towing of unlicensed mobile food establishments. Is there a motion, please, to open public
Move
hearing?
to open?
Motion
Second.
and second. Thank you. To open. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Short, Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
yes,
and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen who are listening to us, this proposed ordinance is being discussed at this time. If you sent in comments, they will be read. I don't believe we have any comments on it. Are there any questions of people who are here? Seeing none, is there a motion, please, to close public hearing?
So move.
Second.
Motion and second to close. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Short,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
yes,
Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. The ordinance, no, that is,
That was
no,
to
we're
close.
voting on the ordinance, correct. Excuse me, is there a motion, please, to accept 2454-24?
So moved.
Motion
Second.
and second, thank you. Roll call.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
yes,
and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. We're done, yes?
You skipped one.
I skipped one. Which one did I skip?
Second.
Second one? And
2453.
I'm sorry?
Item number 2 we have to do now.
Item number 2, and
I'll move to open it.
there's a
Second.
move to open. There's a second. Roll call to open.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
yes,
and Council President Scher.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, the council will be deliberating 2453-24 because I inadvertently made a big mistake. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on 2453-24?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please, to close.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Short,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
yes,
and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. On the ordinance, is there a motion to accept?
So
please?
moved,
Motion
Council President.
Second.
and second. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Short,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
yes,
and Council President Scher.
Yes, thank you. We're up to communications, items 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Are there any questions, please, on 4 through 10? Seeing no questions at this time, is there a motion, please, to accept 4 through 10?
Move it.
Motion
Second.
and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman
Yes.
Short, Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
yes,
and Council President Scher.
Before giving my closure vote, forgive me for being so direct, Councilwoman Colon Montañez. This ordinance is something which can be voted on by you in your terms of your official or unofficial representations of the PRC.
I would think so. I'm not a board member.
You'll excuse me for that, ma'am.
Thank
That
you.
being the case, I vote yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. All matters listed hereunder are considered routine in nature. We have items 11. Through 22. Are there any questions, please, on 11 through 22? Let me publicly compliment the administration if I can. This council has so often heard complaints from members of the citizenry who have said that they're not available copies of what boards have done. And it's been a difficult subject for discussion because of cost and the rest of it. So somehow you all found the way to make this work. And on behalf of the council, I want to share our pleasure at that and thank you. It puts us, I'm sure, in full compliance with what we need to be. We are up to 25, excuse me, we are up to,
23.
we have to vote.
We have to vote for the all matters.
Sorry, thank you. A vote on all matters,
11 through 22.
22.
11 through 22.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and second on 11 through 22. No, excuse me.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes. Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. We're up to Roman numeral 9, current year 2024 budget adoption. Public hearing is required. Number 23, cancellation of appropriated grant reserve balances under the American Rescue Plan. Mr. Lurch, it's so pleasurable to see you here. Could you tell us what 23 does?
Yeah, thank you very much. When the city received the American Rescue Award back in 2020, what it did, it technically appropriated all the money. Thank you, Council President. When the city received the award for the American Rescue Plan back in 2020, what it did a technicality and appropriated all that money. And what that really did was set all that money aside so that money had to be spent only for specific purposes. Now, in accordance with the statute, the entire money is required to be expended by the year ended December 31st, 2024, or at least committed. So since some of that money that was set aside from the original award was technically set aside, what we're doing by this resolution is we're freeing that money up, and that money is now being anticipated as a revenue and being appropriated in this 24 budget. There's $8.1 million in this budget, which will be the last tranche of your American Rescue money, and that money is being used for police and fire, so that you'll have met all your requirements and to have legally spent that money, the American Rescue Plan
This
money.
is a one-time only.
One time only, that is correct, sir.
The mayor was over there, it would be 2 times, I'm sure.
Well, you received 2 checks, but this is the end of it.
Are there any questions, please, on 23? Seeing none, is there a motion, please, to accept 23?
Move it.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Shear.
Yes, thank you. Number 24, please, is a resolution adoption of the current year 2024 municipal budget. Mr. Lurch, can you
Yeah,
help us?
Yes, just a few words. Point of order, you're required to have a public hearing prior to taking action on the resolution. I just want to make a very few short comments. This city deserves a tremendous commendation for its fiscal discipline, and I say that very, very complimentary and very, very sincerely. This city has, for a city of this size, it's a $116 million spending plan. In that $116 million spending plan, total debt of this city outstanding is $16 million. Under the statute, the city of Passaic's permitted to authorize debt up to 3.5% of its equalized valuation. That number is 170 million. There are cities, and I'm not going to name them here because we all love our sister cities, but there are cities that are at their 3.5% and above, where literally every time they want to do a capital improvement, they have to go down a local finance board since they exceed the legal threshold. The city of Passaic is $153 million below its allowable debt limit. Just another comment, you read about the federal government all the time and how all the money is being spent on the federal level for what they call debt service. It's the mortgage. It's what you pay for your mortgage. The mortgage for the city of Passaic is approximately $2 million let me put that in perspective. $2 million on a $116 million spending plan means that less than 2% of the city's budget goes to repay debt. That is a phenomenal low number. The average number for a city, and for even not just the city, for suburban towns as well, is approximately 10% of the budget. Meaning that most communities spend, if they have a $100 million budget, approximately $10 million goes to pay the principal and interest on the debt. $90 million would go for services. In this city, out of a $116 million budget, $114 million goes for services. That's quite an accomplishment. And lastly, I think, I do want to just give a little bit of credit to the chief financial officer here. And I want to point out, out of all the financials that are reviewed, there's quite a few, the city earned interest income on its deposits. It took advantage of the higher interest rates, and everybody's familiar, interest rates actually were higher finally after so many years of a zero interest rate. The city earned $2.4 million. $2.4 million in interest in calendar year 2023. So again, I think kudos goes to everybody. I think it goes to the council president and council for their great discipline and for their great guidance, and the administration, which administers throughout that. And it just shows that the city of Passaic watches every dollar, every dime, and every penny. And I think you all deserve to be highly complimented for it. And it's an honor to serve the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You're very, very kind. Tell us about neighboring municipalities in Passaic County. Can you share with us if you have knowledge of how they're doing? Are we are we the rule?
Well, they're certainly not. They're certainly not in the same position that you are. I'd rather not identify any specifically, but I can tell you from a surplus position. The surplus for the city is $25 million. That's over 20% of your budget. Only AAA communities maintain a surplus of 20%. So you are in very elite company. I think you read the papers, and I think you know some of your sister cities aren't, that fortunate. They're feeling a lot more pressures. And pressures, what I talk about is, tax pressures, and that's as a result of increased spending and not having the reserves available necessary to offset those increased spending levels. And that makes, the city of Passaic is very unique that even with the COVID, and let me point this out too, because, in COVID 2020, when that hit, all the communities in the state of New Jersey were permitted to borrow monies for their revenue shortfalls as a result of the COVID, the decrease in collections and taxes and fees as a result of COVID. We didn't borrow money. We don't have any money outstanding. The other cities have significant amount of debt as a result of the COVID. They have significantly lower surpluses than you do. And as a result, they're feeling different pressures.
You bring us good news, Mr. Lurch. You bring us very good news.
Thank you, sir.
You're complimenting us in the ways, frankly, that we had already considered how well we were doing. And I must tell you, to the finance departments and to the oversight of the finance department, Mr. Fernandez, and frankly, for everyone who was involved with the city of Passaic, because each person is in fact adding to a general construct in how we go forward. Councilman Miller, is that your light?
No, that's Councilman Monk.
I am Councilman Monk. I'm sorry, sir.
Thank you, Council President. I might just add, you're giving all these compliments, but the head of our finance department had some very good training prior to coming to the city of Passaic.
Well, I'm very humble. I'm very honored that you got so fortunate. And I'm always happy to see a young man thrive and grow, and I'm very proud of him, and I can see him really growing into the position. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you. The one of the questions I have is that, I mean, thank God we do have, financially, the city is in a good place. Let's hope we can continue, especially with the low debt, the surplus. But how about other things that are not in our control? As one thing that really sticks out in your report is the liability that we have for pensions. So obviously that's handled, I guess, on the state level, but what is the liability to a city like us with hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of long-term liability for pensions?
Yeah, if you give me one moment, I actually do have that information. And we're not unique, but it is. Your liability for pension, this would be for police, as well as your public employees, is $110 million. Not abnormal for a city this size. The way we account for it and the way we budget for it in the state of New Jersey is that the appropriation that what we do is no different than any other town in the state, is that we just appropriate and budget the amounts that are due in the current year. So there's no requirement to, to fund that whole amount. In a beautiful world, that would be, that would be a great luxury to have. But that's essentially it. You have $110 million on the books. Now, mind you, when I just want to put a caveat on that, because you really would only pay that, know that if we ceased in existence. If all of a sudden we ceased in existence and we said, now we got to pay everybody's pension because we're not in business anymore. Then I would say, that's a real liability and we really got to raise all that money. We should have all that money raised. But one thing we hope and we know about government, it kind of serves in perpetuity. So that although it's a liability that we're required to disclose, we're required to tell the people of the world that, this is the amount that would cost us under actuarial terms for everybody's livelihood to run out. It's a liability. It's a tab or a bill that will never actually come due.
Right. So, there's a lot of talk in the news about Social Security going bankrupt and so on and so forth. With your involvement with many municipalities and your knowledge of how the system works, how safe, how sound is this New York State pension system?
I would think the council president might have more expertise at that than I do.
I would have hoped you would have known the answer.
I would feel comfortable saying it sound enough for everyone in this room.
The bond issuer, in this case being the federal government or the state government or a local government, has made a contractual guarantee with the bond owner when they bought the bonds. So technically, if the state of New Jersey went bankrupt tomorrow, there's an immediate loss factor of 120 million, not considering the assets at all or other debt. The same would apply to U.S. government bonds, Treasury specifically. They are both guaranteed by the full faith and credit of the United States itself. So the United States would literally have to go out of business for that to occur, which is why the United States dollar is considered to be the most highly valued and most prized because of its consistency and its general look. Although there are obviously some continuing concerns by China and some other countries in terms of changing the currency base from U.S. treasuries to something more appropriate or broader involving other countries. The smaller countries, underrepresented countries, want to have a play in that marketplace. Forgive me, I'm sure that you're aware of what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? And let me just say publicly, by the way, that Councilman Schwartz and Councilman Colón Montañez have been very generous with their time, allowing us to get through the budget with required discussion and unanimity amongst ourselves in terms of the purposes and goals of this great city and its administration and the mayor, of course. If there are no further questions on 24, is there a motion, please, to adopt the current
Council
year?
President,
Oh, we have to open the public.
Move to open?
Move to open,
Second.
second. Move to open, second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. That opened public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to address the council on this item and this item only?
Seeing no hands, I move to close the public portion.
Second.
Motion to close, roll call to close.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. On the resolution, is there a motion to accept this? I'm sorry, one, please.
We need to motion and second to adopt the budget.
And we did open
We did open and
participation.
close already.
So we can close and move forward for an adoption?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Is there a motion, please, to accept the resolution adoption of the current year 2024 municipal budget? Move it.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Councilman Love, Councilman Love,
Yes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
Councilwoman Colon Montañez,
Yes.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. I'm reminded that on 24, we need a public hearing. We did 24. On 23, I'm told that we need a hearing. Susie, is that? Okay, so if we can have a.
No public hearing required.
No public hearing required on 23.
Canceling the appropriate reserves, no public hearing.
Because I think where it was placed on the agenda, it reads that they both need a public hearing, but it's not necessary for 23, just 24.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. We have the budget. We're up to Roman numeral 10 of our agenda, resolutions. Items 25. '25 through 51. Are there any questions on 25? Councilman
Monk.
Monk.
Thank you. Thank you, Council President. On item 31. It's purchase of gift cards of $38,000 of gift cards. Just wondering what's that's for and how.
Sure. Councilman, we unfortunately had a loss of electricity for 3 days in the Aspen Place Spear Village complex. And obviously, to convene a meeting of the council would have been extremely difficult in the midst of this emergency, as the loss of electricity occurred overnight, midnight, and we were dealing with a record heat wave. There are rare occasions where I will utilize executive order, but of course go through the attorney and make sure that the council president is aware. Decided to utilize funds that we identified we could to make sure that every resident could restock their refrigerator. They lost the food in those 3 days, and the heat was obviously a big issue. Afterwards, and considering especially what was mentioned about our most pragmatic approach to spending, we were able to reach out to housing and get them to speak to HUD and the federal government and see if they can refund a portion of the money. But whether they were going to do it or not, I felt that knowing the history of this council and our approach, especially during COVID, to meet the needs of underserved communities, especially those that deal with food insecurity and hunger crisis, that it was most appropriate to ensure that not a single child or family would go without food. PSC&G came and did the work. They replaced the transformer and the light went out immediately again. Then housing came in to find old wires and the light stayed out. So for 3 days during the hottest days, the last day, fortunately, temperature came down. Individuals did not have refrigerator or electricity. And not only that, but I reached out to PSC&G and was able to speak to their executives. And through application processes, we facilitated for residents to be able to put in for reimbursements, which come much later. But this food immediately provided them with groceries and reimbursed their food.
Each family receives a set amount?
Yes, each family received a $100 gift card to ShopRite that they can go and purchase food. The reason ShopRite, we checked the nearest food markets. Unfortunately, they didn't have gift cards. And it would not be responsible for us to give people cash or coupons. The reason why we do gift cards, it's obviously because we can only buy food or items for the home. So we felt it was the most responsible approach to try to meet the needs. We had this entire council chamber filled with families that were they were concerned. They didn't know what caused the power outage. And as you are aware, when residents don't know where the issue is, they look to us and say, you guys may have not caused it, but we have elected you guys to address it. And at that moment, and I stand by that decision. I chose to put money aside and ensure that every family would have food, and they expressed their gratitude as well as housing, expressed their deep appreciation for the city, the council, and my administration's response to it. It was $38,000, and it covered over 383 families. So there are 383 families that currently live there. Each one got $100.
Thank you. Also, item 50. Authorize the mayor to execute a federal aid agreement with NJDOT. What is that? What is that for? And I just found it just a little bit.
Sure.
I remember seeing a resolution that the city clerk is executing.
So she signs off on the signature of it, but this is the Federal Highway Administration grant for ADA ramps. So what happens is when you sign, and it's typical that the city clerk and the mayor sign these documents as they come out. So this is a common.
It's almost file and receive, like receive and file.
That's all it is. Just
Yeah, it's a common process in some of the grants. So this is not the first time we've done mayor and city clerk.
okay, fine.
The amount was $98,844.
Yes. All right. Okay. Also, on item 44. So this 5.7 million is specifically for which projects?
So
Do we have it already designated?
So I'm gonna get a little excited because every time we go and get money for free, we all talk about it.
Well, this one's not free. This one says 20%
But
match.
let me explain how creatively the 20% match doesn't come out of our coffers. We're one of 6 municipalities under the EDA that is eligible to receive this funding. The city of Passaic's allocation for that funding is $5.7 million plus. It is to fund projects. Again, I guess the state also has to spend their ARP money before it's due, and we were one of the 6 cities to receive it. And
Do you know the other cities by chance?
I apologize, I didn't have the list here with me, but I think Patterson is one of them, and they're urban cities like us. And it's for the pedestrian safety, pedestrian traffic, outdoor dining, things that address, I guess the remnants of COVID. And additionally, in this program, there are funding for, in our main avenue redevelopment area, these businesses, and the mayor and I were having conversations about what projects we may be able to fund. to have ADA access for elevators, repairs of storefronts, things of that nature that comes out of this $5.7 million. And then the question is, where's the 20% grant? Well, if we do a program where the property owners are accepting this, part of that acceptance is that they put over 20% of the project, right? So for example, if we give $1 million to a business owner and the project is $3 million, clearly they've paid a lot more than the 20%, and that goes into the overall bucket. So for example, any of the projects that we may be doing, for example, a pedestrian plaza in front of the parking deck or the bus terminal island, these are some of the discussions the mayor has been having with us about converting that to some outdoor dining. Everything that everyone puts into the pot becomes part of that 20% match. So with, as an example, the UEZ landscaping program for that area, the business owners getting some funding to, let's say, do an elevator in their property, whatever they put in of that total project, if it exceeds the 20%, is put into the overall kitty, and the city of Passaic would then not have to come out of their pocket to pay the 20%.
So, and if I may, because if I read your expression correctly, when we mentioned the elevators or potential, I wanted to share what occurred was while we were discussing it, I mentioned to the business administrator that for many of the businesses I may have, the second floors have been vacant for many years, which begs the question why. I mean, we're seeing record redevelopment, we're seeing a great deal of interest, businesses coming in, and we realize that it's extremely difficult when you don't have an elevator. On the second and third floors of these businesses, the Main Avenue redevelopment plan, which through this council and the remarkable and dedicated work of our business administrator with the master plan to consider building up a Main Ave, we decided to ask if we would be able to use some of these funds to encourage these businesses to put in elevators, which obviously the businesses would be more than happy to contribute a portion, because for them it would be very costly, or to contribute obviously to the overall pot. But this would be great for businesses, for ensuring that they're able to rent it out commercially, because we have some buildings, I think many of you have seen them, with remarkable space. It just doesn't make sense with their entrances and with no elevators. We've seen a few businesses, like the last one that we saw was Arepa Express, right on Central, that little triangle building. I mean, they were able to get that elevator up and running. Now they have a thriving business on the second floor. And it's a little lounge, and it's doing great. And we realized that this would be a very beneficial use of those funds to encourage business on Main Avenue.
I think I'm better off maybe having these meetings over Zoom so you don't see my face, my expression.
No. I understood the question when you mentioned elevators, but I'm going to get context.
Actually, what was going through my mind was something a little bit different. Okay, I was just like quickly calculating how many elevators you could do for $5 million. Okay, and how do you allocate these funds? I mean, in other words, many different things I'm thinking of is, number one, I mean, some of these upstairs, typically in the past, they've had residential apartments on the second floor, which don't require elevators. Second floor doesn't require elevators. So
but also, remember, staircases for accessibility as well. So it's an accessibility idea of making them more accessible to the public.
And the funding doesn't have to be 100% to fund the elevator. For many of these businesses, they may just need a portion of it, which could be provided through this. So though the cost of one elevator, and I don't know, what's the average cost to create an elevator? About
$200,000-$300,000.
Some of them might say, you know, I have 150. Yeah, one might say I have 150. I just need the extra 50.
So how does it? I was just thinking, like, how is a program like this run? Okay, where one guy was going to get $200,000, the next guy get $50,000. Again, if you're going to pay 80% of elevators, at $250,000 a pop, so it's a lot of money, and it seems $5 million can go a long way, and to go put elevators in, in 10, 12 buildings.
But that's one of many options.
I don't see how you're getting the bang.
Yeah, it's one of many options.
no,
Yeah, let me show
necessarily
you. It
have
is
to
not
have
an elevator fund.
Yeah.
That was, so while we were trying to brainstorm the ideas, I had said, there's so many vacant second floors that have remained vacant. What can we potentially do? So obviously there's a list of what you're allowed to do. Our goal is to ensure that the investment of this money goes to continue to support the businesses throughout the area, because Main Avenue is, I won't say the lifeblood of our city, but it's paramount that the success of our businesses in our commercial areas are supported by the city, because they employ our residents, and obviously no one wants to see, close down. I mean, now, so, yeah.
But
So what are the other things that we're gonna do?
I was saying, this particular scenario, right?
Yeah.
Is the city going to look at each building and say, this guy, he's been holding this building for 30 years.
Yes.
He has no mortgage.
Mhm.
It's a cash cow today. He's making a lot of money today.
Yeah.
But we're going to go put an elevator and take public funds, put an elevator so he can make 2 ton loads of money.
So here's,
Or go to a building where a guy bought last year and his mortgage is 7% mortgage and he's
Yeah.
barely making it.
no,
And
the
therefore,
other,
this is going to keep him. This will keep him going. So he doesn't go bankrupt. So we don't see a closed sign. Like, how do you even evaluate this? So we really do you use every dollar properly and get the biggest bang?
so there's an application process, there's approvals. Obviously, they have to meet certain criteria. The BA will speak to that, but I want to share this, and I think it's a legitimate question. The money was awarded to us, so we're not taking it out of our coffers. I have a philosophical position that as a capitalist, hey, you make 10 million and you can make 20, God bless you. My desire as mayor, and this is only just a personal position, and I think that it's similar, supported by the governing body, but we should be responsible with the money, is we want to make sure that every fund that we receive goes to programs, services, and to support our local businesses, recreation, and all of this. If we receive $5 million and there's a building that hasn't been able to rent the second floor, and we think that a business that's going to come is going to bring benefits to our community, employ residents, I will admit, I don't care if that guy's making $100 million a year. As long as none of us are making any money, we're perfectly fine to give it out. And as long as we're not taking it directly from our tax base or taking it out of our coffers. Considering that the funds can be used for our budget, which our budget can be broken down to operational and capital projects, we can't use it for us. We have to specifically use it for this area. There's a number of different options. But again, I think what's most important is the application process. It is not arbitrary. No one in City Hall is going to be able to say, I like this guy. Let's give him $3 million. So not only can he get an elevator, but get a golden elevator. Absolutely not. That is not the process. So I'm going to ask the BA if he can just explain the process and application, just to give some confidence to our council.
Yeah, so right now it's just giving us the ability to apply for these funds. What's going to happen following this is that we're going to have public meetings. We're going to discuss the public projects. So each of these public projects, like the plaza in front of the parking deck, which is one of them, and the bus terminal, which is another one, the state of New Jersey maxes these programs out at $1.2 million per project. Right? So if you're doing the math, that's already $2.4 million that are gone on these 2 projects and whatever other public project we may have. Then there is a first come, first serve application process for business owners to apply for the remaining money, which the state has capped at $3 million a project, but we can set a cap if we reduce the size of the projects we're allowing, to allow it to spread, which is kind of what the mayor's talking about, to different businesses. Each of these businesses have to come in, and the burden of proof to show us that it's valuable is on them. They have to come in with a project, a proposal, what it is that they're doing that enhances the business district. So, there's always those catchphrases in all the grants that enhances the business community, that's going to employ.
If I may, consider the bus terminal that's going to move to Passaic Avenue. So they're going to move the bus terminal that right by the Dunkin' Donuts. What's going to go there? What are we going to do there? And that begs the question, what would be the best use? Do we want to make passive recreation? Do we want to do something that enhances the eateries in the area for eating out? Do we want to do landscaping? That's the intended purpose of the funding. I know that the elevator one is an easy one to go, well, why would we give a business an elevator? I don't want to make up a criteria, because obviously all of us can look at it subjectively, but if there's a building that we're going for 20 years, they haven't been able to rent the second floor, and it's a good building, or the Rent-A-Center right on Main Avenue that's been for sale, I think, since all of you have been, yes, that has been for sale and only rents out the first floor. If there's an option that could bring a business to the second floor and that would also enhance the area in the front and create a service, then that application would be reviewed. There would be public participation, and there's a cap on the money, much like how when we received the grant for a park, Dundee Island, we had public participation. There was a review. Do you remember we had to go through so many meetings where we decided, what do we want there? Do we want the county to take it over? Do we not? Do we want a soccer field? It'll be similar in that same process. But again, I have to stress, it will not be a project in silos where 2 or 3 people are going, I like this guy better than him. Let's give him $3 million. That is not the money, because we have to answer for how it enhanced our Main Avenue and our UEZ, our commercial area. These main areas, we have to be accountable. And as was mentioned, we've received record grants. I think we've said in so many meetings, we're one of the few municipalities that have not had to return money back. I mean, that speaks a lot to us. When I was hearing the report on COVID, and I know it's a bit of a tangent, but I think it's important for people to know, other municipalities chose to give out bonuses to their administration, to officials. I'm not judging. But then they were held accountable with, I don't want to say hyper scrutiny, but intense review. I'll use that. Intense review, where we utilized our funds for services, for programs, for getting apparatuses and equipment that continue to provide services. I think it's important to note that, and your question is so vitally important, I think the public should know that report, that statement of confidence, is because every time we receive money, we have these conversations. Every time we receive money, there is no, the council goes, we'll let the mayor decide how to spend it. We have meetings and we require people to come in and we involve the public. We meet the requirements and then we go above and beyond the requirements. So yes, those projects will go through a vetting process. And we're hoping that we see significant benefits to our Main Avenue because of this money, where we were one of 6 out of 564 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. We received $5 million to try to enhance our Main Avenue.
And if I could just add to that, each project has to get approved by the state before we could spend the money. So it's not like we came up with this idea, we did the whole public thing, we're like, all right, we like this application. It still has to get vetted through the state to say, yes, you comply with the outline of what the grant is for, you can grant the project.
That was the immediate response I was given when I asked if we can open up the Shea Laura Love ice cream shop in Main Avenue. Rick said it gets evaluated by. He said no, it gets evaluated by the state. So I was like, all right, let's move on to the next.
No, I'm sitting here because the process that you guys are describing that's going to be used for that is CDBG. It's the same process, right? It's scrutinized whether applications are duplicated. They're the same services, right? So I know there's no way that we're going to approve every business owner to say, okay, I want an elevator. So, and I'm just sitting here smiling because I'm like, we have that process with a lot of the things we do. So, and Mayor, I like the point that I like the fact that you pointed out that was one aspect of it, the elevator. I mean, we could talk about banisters, right? There may be owners that's flourishing who say, just what you said, you know what, I have the 150. I need 50,000 more to do what they need to do. And I think it's great because I did have an office where I saw all of that empty space on Main Ave. And it's actually a sin because there's some beautiful places, some large, and I can see a lot of our local businesses wanting to rent those places. But as you said, that accessibility. So I really like the thought of this process.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mayor. Any other questions, please? Let's go to number 25 first. A resolution authorizing closed executive session. Susie, do we need closed executive?
No, Council President.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Fernandez?
No, Council President.
Mr. Mayor, sir?
None at this time, Council President.
Thank you, sir. Members of the council? Very good. Let's put aside 25. Is there a motion, please, to accept resolutions 25 through 51?
26 through 51.
26. What did I say?
25.
Okay,
26.
we're taking off 26.
Yes.
No?
No, we're taking off
They're on
item 25.
Right, good. So 26 through 51. Is there a motion, please, to accept?
Move it.
Motion
Second.
and second roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. We're up to proposed ordinances, please. Roman numeral 9, and ordinances for introduction and first reading. 52, an ordinance amending Chapter 317 of the Code of the City of Passaic to add Article 17, municipal exemption from zoning regulations. Is there a motion to accept for set down at our meeting of
August 6th.
August 6th? Is there such a motion, please?
Move.
Motion
Second.
and second roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. We're up to 53, please, with the council's permission. An ordinance amending city code of the City of Passaic, Chapter 258A, stormwater control. Is there a motion, please, to accept for set down for second and final reading at our meeting of August the 6th?
So move.
Second.
Motion and second roll call, please.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz,
Yes.
Councilman Garcia,
Yes.
and Council President Scheer.
Yes, thank you. We're up to Roman numeral 14. Mayor's report. Mayor, I don't know how you, we're up to your report, sir, if you'd like to.
Not necessarily for the city, but if I may, a point of privilege for the residents that are watching and those present. This week, I am confident in sharing that we were all shocked at events that we saw in the news with the attempted assassination of former President Trump. The reason why I mention this is, as a city, we obviously pray for our leaders. We send our well wishes. This was of great concern to families, to residents, not just here, but obviously throughout the nation, and I would propose globally, is a reminder as mayor and having the privilege to work with my distinguished colleagues on the city council and having served in office for many years and having witnessed the relationships of our council members across the political aisles, our assemblymen working with Republicans, Democrats, Independents, anyone who would benefit our city, and different governors. It is a point to remind us all that it is okay to disagree politically, but it should be our common prayer and goal and vision to always remain united. With that stated, I would propose that we continue to pray for not just former President Trump, but President Biden, for all government officials, and to remember that even at our worst moments, even at our darkest hours, there has always been that great hope rooted and based upon that remarkable dream of the Founding Fathers, on those sacred principles of democracy upheld by this most wonderful republic. That whatever the process is, electoral, obviously campaigns can go different ways, that we are one nation, and that whoever leads, the strength of our nation is the people, the citizenship, that we base our beliefs and our strength on something firm, the Constitution of the United States of America, the legislative and judiciary and executive powers that check each other. So I share that only as mayor because some people watch us online, and I know that I've spoken to my colleagues, and we don't talk about politics, so I'm not speaking about partisanship, but rather something greater, that we remember that throughout this process, that our unity and our words are important because our children watch. Our children feed from what's on TV or social media, and as officials, we have a responsibility, a duty to be responsible and careful with what we say. So I take this time again as mayor, of course, to announce and repudiate and reject the actions and rhetoric that would lead to violence, because there's no place for violence in this political process. There is no place for acts like this. If you don't agree with someone, don't vote for them. If you agree with them, support with your votes. But as a city, I would propose and again share to all those who would watch us online that we collectively ask that we remain united as a community and know that there's been changes of office from governors to presidents, yet we still meet and talk about bonds and budgets and capital projects and argue whether we're going to accept grants, and things will continue. Thank you for indulging those few minutes I wanted to share that.
Thank you, Mayor. On our agenda, please, Amendment 12, payment of bills. Are there any questions on the bills? Roll call on the bills, please.
I have a motion.
Move it.
Second.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz.
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining with us tonight. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting, please?
So move.
Administrator's
Second.
report, he's never given a report in the 30 years that I've been here. What are we deluding ourselves for?
On that note, I might as well say something. So the six municipalities that received the grant funding were Camden, Patterson, Franklin, New Brunswick, North, and the great city of Passaic.
Good, excellent, excellent. We adjourn the meeting. Do we do the roll call?
We did the motion. The roll
We have a
call.
motion on the table. Roll call, please.
Second, I'm sorry.
I made the
Second.
motion.
Second.
We had a motion and second with it.
Councilman Monk,
Yes.
Councilman Love,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mello,
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz.
Yes.
Councilman Garcia.
Yes.
And Council President Sher.
Yes, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us tonight. This meeting is adjourned.